All right, welcome back. I hope you're having an awesome time so far. Our next panel is titled Modular Mania, everything you need to know about offsite innovation. Please join me in welcoming our panelists to the virtual stage. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to Darren.
All right, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. This is an exciting topic. I know there's always lots of questions regarding modular construction, so we've got a fantastic panel here today to hopefully answer many of your questions. I'm Darren Seary. I'm principal at Optimum Modular Solutions. We're a third-party construction management and consulting company relating specifically to modular construction. We focus on delivering efficient modular projects successfully through a process of education, evaluating projects for whether they're a good fit or not, integrating the on-site and off-site construction, and then facilitating the success through completion with construction management and project management services from start to finish. So modular construction, you're going to hear lots of different terms used today in this discussion. There's off-site, there's prefabrication, there's industrialized, there's lots of different terms. So we're going to try and cover different aspects of the industry. It is quite widespread, but it can be utilized for different applications, offices, hotels, multifamily. In the multifamily space, I know that a lot of the cities throughout the US are struggling to make deals pencil with rising construction costs. Relating to that, I mean, there's reports out there, there's big needs for housing throughout the country. The homeless crisis is not getting any better for sure. So is modular the solution? Maybe. Well, let's see. So we're going to explore it and see where it goes. So is modular becoming more mainstream in the US? Is BIM playing a part in the design? Can that help move things forward? What innovations can be made in manufacturing to help the process, and what are we doing collectively to try and push things forward? We're going to raise these questions today and have our expert panel answer those questions and add further input on their views. So without no further ado, I will introduce or allow everyone to introduce themselves, starting with you, Dale.
Hello, I'm Dale Stern. I'm with MGAC. MGAC is an owner's representation and project management firm. So we specialize and essentially do exclusively project management and ancillary services such as cost management, move management, and FF&E procurement, et cetera. Our headquarters is in Washington, D.C., but we have offices in Toronto, New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, and San Francisco.
Okay, thank you. Amma.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Raafat. I'm the Vice President of Virtual Design Construction and Technology at Windover Construction. We've been building academic buildings, healthcare, life science, and we've been doing a lot of modular, volumetric modular construction, offsite construction. We've been known in the field for bringing innovative ideas to save time on modular construction projects through the use of technology with in-house modular expertise. And excited to be today with everyone and discuss this great topic about offsite construction.
Great, thank you, Amma. Kyung.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kyung Kim, and I'm with Avana Capital. We are a private debt fund, and we provide construction loans to various projects in the commercial real estate space, and including stick build as well as modular.
All right. Lastly, Aundre.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aundre Oldacre with AoRa Development. We are modular builders of everything from single family to multifamily construction. We focus more on the multifamily and steel framed construction. We handle anything from multifamily even have a hotel in the pipeline. So
all right, thank you, panel. So Aundre, we'll stay with you. Is modular becoming more mainstream, do you think, in the US? Are we catching up with the Europeans? And how far are we from modular being considered more normal in terms of construction techniques?
well, right now the industry is at 4% of modular construction for total construction. So you can't consider that really mainstream. But in 10 to 15 years, we would like to see it get to the 20-25% range, which we think we can. modular's been around for a long time. It's been around since the 20s. But in the last 5 or 10 years, you've seen a massive influx of capital, innovation, and various ways that it's going to increase. So with the use of robotics, different framing systems that are easier to connect it with less manual labor. There's various ways that we can improve the technology.
Then Kyung, you obviously see it from a financing perspective. You're always a good indicator of whether things are becoming more mainstream because people come to you and say, hey, can you lend on my modular or offsite construction project? Are you seeing an uptick in that?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, they're definitely seeing more projects come through our pipeline, I guess, with rising construction costs, both in terms of materials and labor. For the right projects, obviously, modular can provide that solution. I think lenders are slowly becoming more comfortable with that, but I think it's going to start in the private debt world. I think the banks are a little less reluctant. And I think now with the pandemic, right, with the pandemic occurring, you've got all the capital that were sitting on the sidelines. Now they're trying to get back. They're probably going to get back in more if you're going to kind of focus more on straight down the fairway, if you will, type of deals. So stick built, and so I think they'll be a little bit slower to get comfortable with the modular side of the kind of construction process.
And of course, looking at it from your perspective, the pandemic has obviously impacted the hospitality market over the last sort of 5-10 years. Volumetric modular has been kind of used, predominantly for the hospitality market, which has been applied very successfully. You're now seeing that transition more towards the multifamily now that we're in a little bit of a situation with lenders not wanting to finance the hospitality at this current time?
Right, I think so. I think there was a shift to multifamily even before the pandemic. Hotels in general are just more conducive to modular construction than multifamily. It's just less complicated and less MEP work individually on those units. But it was occurring anyway. I think you're still seeing people trying to get construction projects off the ground on the hospitality side. So that has continued as well. But the multifamily, I know that various factories, various modular companies have in their own business models shifted to more multifamily during this drought for hospitality projects.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Dale, what type of projects is modular best suited for, in your opinion?
Well, I think, my apologies, I think our panelists already mentioned that. Obviously, hospitality has been a leader in that industry for many years. And multifamily, again, being redundant, but that's kind of the next layer on that. I think it's really, hospital rooms, head walls, bathrooms have been done for a long time. Certain classrooms are good candidates as well. I mean, I think the great candidates, of course, have repetitive product and also are of a size that's conducive to volumetric modules. For example, you could do bigger things, but nobody's going to build a module to transport air. So it's got to be something that the contained function fits nicely within a module. So I think all of those those kind of market sectors are ideal candidates for modular construction.
Mm-hmm. Emma, anything to add to that? And can you touch on what innovations can help expand the scope of project types modular can be applied to?
I totally agree with Darren that it's been fitting with all the different types. We've been building academic projects, commercial, multifamily, mixed use, and even that past summer during the COVID surge, we've been asked by several schools in the New England area to support them to build 10 dorms in response to COVID-19. And the schedule for these projects has been only like a couple months. A process that would usually take at least 6 months. We've been condensed through the innovative solutions, which is on day one, we've been utilizing drone mapping and laser scanning to capture the sites and coordinate that with the factory that's preparing the boxes. So we make sure that when those boxes arrive on site, there are no surprises on site. So I think one of the innovative solutions we can really improve the use of modular and spread the use of modular is how in different project types is actually how we improve, how we coordinate the modular modules of offsite construction elements with where it will go on site through technology. With that, we will improve how it gets coordinated with vertical shafts and MEAB, and then we can do more of the life science and more complex projects that requires more coordination, more complex MEAB elements. So innovative is combination of technology with in-house modular expertise, which we've been developing over the years at Windover to support the clients.
Okay, and then BIM, I presume, one of those tools that can help facilitate that, right? You know, I think what you know, obviously transitioning from the hospitality, where I think one of you mentioned there about the fact that it's very simple because one module includes the entire suite, as opposed to obviously the multi-family where you've got to connect the modules to make you know, make the unit and deal with all the MEP connections and things. So more coordination work is BIM going to play a big role in that? I mean, obviously it has, but do you see that playing a further role? And what about digital twins and the impact of offsite construction?
It's actually more of modeling. So what we did in this recently on different projects, we've been able, for example, a project called Canvas in Beverly, Massachusetts, we were able to share, it's a mixed use 200 and something unit mixed use project. We were able to share 3 months of the schedule utilizing modular. And the reason we were able to do that, as well as, you know, the fact is that modular construction is saving time, is the on-site coordination. We're able to detect, do constant QA/QC laser scan of as-built on-site while the boxes are being made in the factory in Canada, and coordinate that in real time. So it's very important that we, Darren, that we capture all these data, but what you do with it is what's more important. It's all about enhancing communication between the factory and the on-site coordination. And with that, we can do the ultimate goal of off-site construction, which is saving time, building in the most safe ways, as well as the most sustainable ways as well.
Yeah. And Aundre, the pandemic has given us all a few challenges in life, but has it helped or hindered the modular industry, in your opinion?
We see a lot of the same challenges. You know, there've been delays in every facet of construction. But with modular, with the factories being able to do some of the coordination and some of the building, it has actually helped the industry, in my opinion. We're building 4 single-family homes in South Plainfield, New Jersey, and we were actually able to. We were delayed for some of the pandemic, but we were actually able to have those houses created off-site, as we did some of the on-site work, with minimum staffs on-site.
Mm-hmm.
If I could jump in just briefly, I fully agree with what Aundre has said about the opportunities for offsite construction to help facilitate, social distancing and getting things done and fewer crowded workers on site. I am aware of a particular project. It was a full volumetric modular project that was actually stopped because its factory in China was shut down for 3 months because of COVID. So as long as your factory can remain, disease-free, it is a good alternative, but it's putting all of your eggs in a proverbial basket, on the flip case, if there's an issue at that factory.
Yeah, good point. I mean, do lenders look at it? I know the question there, but do lenders look at it like that, Kyung, regarding the eggs being in one basket?
No, I mean, I don't think we view that necessarily as a risk. I mean, the COVID risk just exists in general. I don't think it's a unique one to a modular project. I mean, I think Dale's got a good point in terms of, when you think about stick-built construction, you're kind of out in the open as opposed to kind of concentrated in a factory, but then that's incumbent on the modular company to make sure the safety protocols are in place. But I wouldn't say it's an identified risk that we think about in a modular project.
Yeah, I was more referring to just the whole construction, a lot of the construction all occurring in one factory. If anything goes wrong with that factory or the factory doesn't deliver, all of the eggs being in that basket, so to speak.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I think that would be exacerbated if, for in Dale's example of one of where this factory is overseas. I mean, then it's sort of, you cannot. It's just further away, and there's less, set of eyes you can put on it. I mean, that risk exists anyway in those kind of offshore type of factory conditions, and then you apply COVID and the uncertainties of that, and that just adds to it. So, and from that perspective, yes.
But I would say, the factories take a lot of the risk, because, a lot of the factories you're only asking for 10 to 20% down, and then they're asking for the rest at delivery. So they're in sense taking most of the risk. Obviously, you have 20% in, and if a factory loses, operation status, then it's a problem. But a lot of the risk is taken on by the factories.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of creative kind of risk mitigation measures are being offered by manufacturers as well, being letters of credit and supply bonds, PMP bonds, and other aspects to that to help safeguard or minimize those risks. But yeah, they certainly exist, and the financing, the world of modular event every year, there's always three things that come out of it as the challenges: is financing, integration of on-site and off-site, and insurance. So it seems to be the three things that the industry I think is working through and getting creative on, but we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, we have the performance guarantee, that sort of mitigates the risk as well. So,
Dale, what do you see as the key to cost savings in modular?
Yeah, so all of the, and I have, again, I respect my distinguished panel. The projects I've been involved with and conferences I've attended, generally industry-wide, people aren't necessarily claiming that modular is going to get you cost savings. I mean, it's really being sold now on less time during construction, on quality control, and cost. I think is the big challenge still for modular construction to to get over that hurdle with confidence. But having said that, I think that the challenge, or the getting past that, is that modular is still, doing a modular project is not business as usual. Essentially, as an owner, developer, contractor, you've got to reinvent your process to do modular, because modular has to be involved so early in the process. And essentially you're designing a product around a module. You have to pick your fabricator and design and match up to that, to what that fabricator can produce to execute your project. So I think that's one of the key things that, again, the designers and contractors need to be aware of when they're going into a modular construction project. It's a very different process. And someone mentioned risks and insurance, and likewise with that, is this going to be a design build project, or is it going to be a design bid build? Who owns the design of the module, and how is that transferred, and whose insurance covers what? How is the risk mitigated or spread on a project? And I think those are all things that will, that again, designers and contractors need to understand going into a modular construction project.
Yeah. Do you think that over time there will be more cost savings through obviously technology will play its part, but I'm more referring to, do you think that people are learning on the job a little bit right now, and that's creating some inefficiencies? And do you think that will improve with every project going forward?
I definitely think that people are learning on the job, and that's going to improve. But I would like to think, maybe this is more aspirational, but I alluded to, doing any kind of module now is a custom design project around that modular fabricator. If the industry could get to, I'll use the term standardization, but some more, so that maybe you weren't locked into a modular fabricator so early, but that it becomes a more generic or common type of construction, so that there's greater flexibility and viability. I think that will be a key way to get cost reduction. I hate to use the phrase, but some sort of industry standardization, I think, could actually help the industry.
Yeah, because obviously I think one of the challenges is that the manufacturer has to submit the plans to the state typically to have them reviewed and approved. So they own that process, whereas I know a lot of architects are wanting to take that on themselves as is typically in, you know, a typical process. So yeah, certainly that's a challenge that I think people are trying to work through.
I mean, I've been involved with a developer who, you know, wanted to defer the decision on modular, and, you know, the conversation around, well, how far can I go with design before I have to make that decision? And the reality is it's very, very early. You know, trying to convert a conventional project to modular late is almost impossible. Going the reverse is a little bit easier, but, you know, starting modular and going conventional, but, you know, and again, the more that decision could be delayed because of standardization or consistency of, you know, that they start to mirror each other or look more similar, I think will definitely help that industry advance and get greater adoption and acceptance.
Absolutely. Amma, what's your take on the key to cost savings?
One of the advantages that Windover has been doing is the design build process. The earlier we are involved in the process, we can, with our in-house expertise with modular, we can really work together and collaborate with the architect to develop a design that would work with modular. Because we had the historical experience with all these modular project examples. One example of how we can increase efficiency on the job site with the use of technology. Last year, we needed to create almost 1,000 trusses, 935 trusses, roof trusses. And what we did is that we did these trusses cold formed steel with the HOIC machinery at the Autodesk Technology Center directly from the BIM data we created. And then we utilized the mixed reality hologram technology to support our field team so they can use the HoloLens to guide them assemble all these prefab trusses on site in 3 days versus 7. So use of new technologies on site can help us increase more efficiencies. It actually provided more than 70% cost and time savings. Also, it was during COVID, so it was great to have one of the field team can work by himself and be very efficient in assembling these pieces. Each truss is made out of 8 pieces. It's like assembling furniture without having to look outside of the task in hand using the hologram technologies from Australia. So I think increasing efficiencies using the BIM data we have and put it in the hands of our field teams so they can utilize it. For years, we've been using mixed reality, for example, for visualizations only, but now we put it to place to make things. So the more we utilize technology and the data we have, the more we can increase efficiency and safety on site.
Great.
I would add to that, you are and can see, some, savings in modular. One of the biggest costs is obviously transportation. So how close are you to your site, right? If you're within 100 miles, then you're gonna see some cost savings. If you're 300-400 miles, you're charging per module per truck delivery. So that's a big factor. Other factors, you have some of these modular builders that are doing basically the traditional construction in the factory, where others are using a lot of semi-automation and even full automation. I talked to one recently that said he brought his man hours down. They're doing heavy robotic automation, and he said he brought their man hours per module down from 700 to 350 per module, 350 hours. So with that level of automation, they're going to start to see tremendous savings and amortize the cost of the robotics and over the course of a 20-30 year financing.
And Aundre, as a developer, how much emphasis do you put on the value, the cost savings and capture for getting speed to market? Do you obviously you're going to save, you can
Sure.
call it 40% on construction time, plus or minus depending. Do you plug that into a calculator like I do, and then work out?
Yeah, in the pro forma, you have mortgage costs and calculate is it going to take a year? Is it going to take 18 months? And if you can cut 40% off of that mortgage cost and loan interest costs, that's a tremendous savings. Obviously, the bigger the better. So yeah,
Kyung doesn't like to hear that kind of thing, but
no, you can do more projects and you can get more fees. So
yeah,
the key
but
is turning
do you
over
also,
money as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you also look at the revenue capture during that period? You get 8 months savings on time. Do you factor in you know, X number of units, X rental, you know, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we factor that into the pro forma, right? We know we're going to get to market and stabilization, 6 months earlier. That relates into a huge savings.
Yeah.
Both in not interest costs and labor costs, but also in actual revenue.
Mm-hmm. You touched on the automation side of things. Anyone else want to kind of talk about innovations on the manufacturing side? Anything you're seeing in the industry in addition to the robotics?
Yeah, actually, we just helped launch a new technology by HOIP, which is telescopic studs, for example, automating this process. So in a very old historic building, that's a 120-year-old building here in Beverly, Massachusetts, we're able to start doing this telescopic studs, which has a great advantage of maneuvering inside tight elevators and tight spaces, easily transported, and then it spreads and fit out spaces very quickly. So automating these processes and having industrialized adaptive technologies can really help transform the way we work with our existing spaces and existing form, which reflect positively on time. And I agree with Aundre. He's bringing up a great point, that starting operations early is great. We see it with our clients when we deliver projects 3 months early. It's not only saving their construction time and money, but also start operations for retail can really have a good benefit for return on investment.
Yeah. Kyung, I kind of mentioned it earlier, tongue in cheek, but finishing a project soon or getting in and out, that's not always a bad thing from a lender's perspective, correct?
That's correct. I mean, as a construction lender's perspective, we have two primary risks, right? The first risk being it being built. Is it going to be built on time and on budget? And the second one is there going to be permanent financing to take us out. Now, the latter is, contingent upon the capital markets, right? And so we'll put that aside. But in terms of modular, the way we look at it is, all right, modular construction, I think Aundre and various other panelists said, it's faster time to market. And I don't think a lot of developers kind of appreciate that. They really just focus on, is it going to cost me less money? Is there going to be cost savings? If they don't take into account that it's going to be time value of money, if you open up a multifamily or a hotel 6 months sooner, that means you're getting revenue 6 months sooner. So I don't know if they appreciate that much. Developers tend to be able to see the tangible, all right, this is the cost for a stick-built project versus this is the cost for a modular project. And they want to see an actual delta there. But I mean, as lenders, we see and appreciate the fact that, your 12-month timeline can go down to a 9-month timeline. And so there's less risk from that perspective. And then another thing I think is underappreciated by the general public, surely not from the people on this panel, is the fact that at the end of the day, you got a better quality asset, right? I mean, we all know and I can appreciate building being built indoors in a climate controlled factory. There's greater consistency, greater quality control versus stick built. And at the end of the day, if you're a developer, you're saying, all right, that project, it's going to be a more solid building.
Yeah, certainly a lot quieter for sure. And some of those on the volumetric side of things. But yeah, you raise a good point with that speed to market. We did do an analysis once on a volumetric project up in South San Francisco. 155 keys, 2 million of hard cost savings on that project. Obviously the Bay Area is very labor expensive, but we did track the 8-month period that we finished sooner than conventional. We did track those costs with the developer, and it was about $5.5 million of gross revenue. So $7.5 million on that project for going modular is is no small chunk of change, as they say. So, Dale, the municipalities, in some cities and states better than others. Can you give us your opinion on that, and what can we do to help them?
Sure, and I think you made a good point. Which it's both the municipalities and, in a sense, the states, because I'm sure, as everyone who's listening knows, you've got your local code authority, and then you've got whatever statewide or other authority is the approver of the modules, and how their turf crosses, et cetera, really can affect how your project goes in terms of the approvals. I've always counseled clients, and I say, regulators, code officials, or whatever, they're bureaucrats who are not rewarded for taking risks. Whatever their job description is, they don't get rewards for risk taking. And so, I think what the industry could do is, how do we take the risk out of that from a code official's point of view in terms of the risk of modular? And the other point, I think, is that unfortunately, we probably just need to build more product to get jurisdictions more comfortable with it. And that's probably going to be one of the easiest ways to take out risk, but it's just to get them more comfortable with the concept of modular. I really believe there's a lot of them still say they support it, but they're still figuring it out. And they say they support it conceptually, but when the crap hits the fan, it's like, I've still got to approve that outlet, or they can't let that go or something. And that's, the execution, to match the conceptual approval is still lacking, just, I think, because of lack of experience, quite frankly. And so, one other thing that could help, and this is not a big secret, is a lot of cities, I think you can appeal to them with the benefits of modular at a citywide goal level, because almost every city now has, for example, sustainability objectives, or they have issues with neighborhoods complaining about construction disturbances all the time. And modular plays really well into both of those objectives from cities in terms of minimizing impacts to residents, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's other ways also, if they haven't yet, to help spin and sell the concept of modular as being, something that they should get on board with and support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amma, your thoughts on that, the municipalities, any challenges you've come across and how you've maybe overcome them?
We think that we've been working with different towns, and we've been building across the New England. We are expanding outside New England as well. I think the more, I totally agree, the more we're building these things, these volumetric modular projects, the more we learn about it, the more everyone will be familiar with the process. It's about logistics planning, safety planning of sites. We've been working on a very complex area with its very urban setting, and we've been able to successfully manage the logistics planning for this. It's about all these trucks coming with the modular boxes, how we set it up safely and efficiently. Another, I totally agree with Kyung about how we build a high quality product in a factory setting. If you look at some of the projects we've been building with multifamily, you never know that this is a modular project. It's the quality and the design of them. So more and more we're seeing the quality, efficiency in terms of energy in the factory. It's definitely reflecting positively on the built environment. And the more we can really, as a AEC industry, collaborate together, architect with builder, with the factory, share information effectively, the more we can come up with building geometries that is, you would never imagine that it is modular. Modular doesn't have to be a box. And the more we utilize technology with coordination on site, working hand by hand by the factory, we can really come up with different project types and supporting different projects that has more complexity.
Mm-hmm. Aundre, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm here in Brooklyn, New York, and just the other day I was at buildings department, trying to pull permits, and we have things on microfiche still. We have, they need to digitize everything from permits, blueprints, everything needs to be digitized. And until we get to that level of digitization, then we can't move on to the next steps, which would be digital twins. I talked to a governmental official in Estonia, and they're working on digital twins for the whole country. Far ahead of us. And with the digital twin, they can see just about any piece of information on that building, the owner, measurements, system, MEP and HVAC systems. Year is built, renovations. Like the digital twins will give them all the information they need at a click of a dime, and will be public access at a snap of a finger. The antiquated ways that we have here in Brooklyn, and even I'm sure across the country, we have one computer where people stand online waiting for access to a building permit system. It's just 50 years behind where we should be.
Yeah, I heard a story the other day. Well, we're seeing it locally, is that things are getting taking time to get through the city in terms of plan reviews and signatures and stamps and seals, because the plans have to be in quarantine before they go to the next department because of COVID. So, I think step one, maybe let's start reviewing plans online, electronically, like the rest of the industry. And I think that's at least a starting point. But yeah, we've got.
If you could think about it, if we digitized everything and got everything, digital twins is a ways away. But if a plan examiner had an issue, he could quickly make if you had the BIM model and you could quickly make a change, those changes could happen in COVID, real time, almost instantaneously, versus scheduling an appointment 2 weeks down the line. Like permitting would be infinitely faster.
Mm-hmm. And before I hand it over to Kyung, what kind of conversations have you had from a developer perspective with your construction lenders for your modular projects? And how well have those conversations, how well received, or what challenges do you see? That'd be for you, Aundre, and then I'll let Kyung kind of back into that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Repeat the question for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, as a developer, what kind of how many conversations have you had with your typical lenders about your modular projects, and how well received are they, and what are some of the potential obstacles that you might see getting in the way?
Some of them are getting comfortable with it. I'm on the Offsite Construction Council with the National Institute of Building Sciences, and one of our programs is to standardize, the practices of lending practices. So we did a first pilot with Fannie Mae, and we're working to move over to some of the other governmental agencies, Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac, and some of the other agencies, just to give a standardized practice of, to get municipalities, cities, comfortable with how to lend to modular, what to expect, and all that. So, some of the bigger lenders are starting to get more comfortable with it, but it's still, as I said, we need more experience. We need more experience with it to really see it, become more comfortable and have a widespread acceptance of it.
Darren, to Aundre's point, working with towns. Last summer, we've been working on one of those urban schools that we needed to do 200-bed modular dorms for them in a month and a half. We've been working, the site is located within 2 towns. So we had to communicate our plans to 2 towns. Utilizing drone mapping on day 1, we utilized the drone mapping to capture a highly detailed 3D model of the site. And we placed all the modular boxes to enhance communication and expedite process. A process with the fire chief would usually take weeks to get. We're able to show them an animation of, in case of emergency, how the fire trucks will go between these boxes and it will be safe. And they see this visualization of the virtual, to Aundre's point, like the twin and the virtual twin, you see it, and then it conveys a message. So processes and communication with the towns, utilizing BIM and 3D modeling and drone mapping and laser scan can really improve how this relationship and communication. It's all about communication. If they get it, they see it, and they would definitely go with it. So this was one of the ways we've been successful in finishing a project that usually takes 6 months in that very short time to respond in a crisis like COVID-19 to a client need.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, in Kyung, the offsite stored materials, something that obviously construction lenders have various, thresholds on. Modular construction, that threshold is blown significantly. Can you touch upon kind of educating everyone, a little bit more about how lenders view offsite stored materials, and specifically how it applies just when you've got so much offsite stored material like in modular?
Right. So the biggest holdup for lenders on the modular construction financing is the fact that you are having to finance materials that are not attached to the real estate. So in all essence, all intents and purposes, that's unsecured collateral. And so, you know, unlike stick build, where as you have materials, they come on site, they start being attached, it's easily to see where your collateral lies. Whereas in modular construction, you've got it in various stages. You've got it in terms of raw materials, finished units, semi-finished units, and the risk from a lender's perspective is that what happens if the modular company goes belly up, you know, it goes bankrupt, loses its liquidity, and then what do you have? You've got some finished units, unfinished units, and how do you finish the project? Whereas in a traditional stick build project, if something goes wrong, you basically swap out the GC and you kind of keep going. It's a little bit more complicated in a midstream modular construction project that goes awry, right? I mean, it's not very easy, if not impossible, to take those current units and those plans and take it to another factory and have them complete it. I haven't experienced this sort of midstream crisis, but I presume the mitigant would be, or rather the way to resolve that is to stack the ones that are finished and then complete the rest traditionally on site. So I mean, those are some of the complications that lenders view in terms of modular construction.
That
The
actually
other
happened with our project in Brooklyn, right attached to the Barclays Center. They stacked some and they had complications. They had to move to another builder and stack the rest with another builder. So that's actually happened.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
But they with the same modules, right? Same manufacturer of modules,
No, I think it was different.
different modules. Is
Yes.
that
They went to a different factory?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Was
So
that
again,
easily
we
done,
talked-
or was it
No, it was
pretty
delayed.
complicated?
It was
okay.
delays. It was, increased cost. It
Yeah.
was pretty much of a headache, and it gave, modular in New York City kind of a black eye.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
as we,
rough. I
as we
mean-
talked to, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, to Aundre's point, and I think various other panelists have mentioned this, is that we need to do more modular, and it needs to be standardized so that if these things occur, you just pick up the plans and take them up to another factory that's going to approach it the same way. And right now, right, and also you don't have a proliferation of many factories. I think Aundre mentioned this. The biggest cost component is transportation. So proximity to a factory is hugely important. Otherwise, it's not going to pencil. And right now, we kind of, like, I introduced developers to different modular companies. I got to see, all right, there's not many factories here. It's not going to work for you there. And so there just needs to be a higher proliferation, almost like a franchise model, right? Where anybody can develop a, pop-up factory in an area. Everybody's using the same jigs, the same materials, or at least, the same specs. And it doesn't really matter where your site is that you want to build. There's going to be something nearby, but we're just not there yet. But that's a long-winded way of answering the question of, helping mitigate the risk for lenders is to have more of these factories, more standardization. Otherwise, everything's kind of, bespoke.
Yeah, I think if we're talking volumetric, I think the wood is kind of getting a little bit more standardized. The steel, we went through a bid process recently, and I reviewed bids on the volumetric steel from companies from overseas and the companies in the US. The ones from overseas, the numbers were within 5% of each other, very standardized kind of designs. They got it dialed in because they've done a lot of it in Europe. The ones, it was apples to apples with those. With the US based manufacturers, it was reviewing a bowl of fruit. It was crazy because everyone has a little bit of a different secret sauce and a different way of doing things. And you're right. I think the industry is going to benefit everybody if we can get a little bit more standardized and get to that point. So Dale, I know we're wrapping up on time fairly soon, but what are the kind of issues you look for in terms of managing risk when you're looking at modular projects?
It's all of the things we've been talking about. You know, it's the experience of the modular company. It's the experience of the contractor. It's the experience of the design team. I guess managing risk to me is all about, have they done it before? Because that's your potentially best chance. I'm all for, everybody's got to learn it at some point. But if you're taking a purely risk management approach, it's someone who's done it before or done it multiple times is probably a safer bet. You know, that's probably one of the biggest risk mitigators. I think the other one is to really have a really direct conversation with our owner client. You know, some of the people on the panel, obviously, such as Aundre, you know, you do this every day, so you're very comfortable with it. I have clients who are considering it for the first time. And so then that conversation is, are you really ready for this? You know, we do as much risk mitigation, if you will, with the client to say, are you ready for this? Or do you understand what's involved? Do you understand the commitments? Do you understand, you know, how this is a very different process, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And that's almost a risk mitigation in its own point, just to make sure that the client is essentially ready to do what they're stating an ambition to do.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to wrap up with the question, you know, what do you feel you and your company is doing to help play a role in helping to facilitate the more widespread adoption of modular construction in the US? So I guess one thing is managing risk is one aspect to that. Dale, is there anything else you wanted to add to that question?
Yeah, maybe just in our role, you know, I say that, you know, a lot of times, you know, our job is to mirror our client in a sense, because they come to us with a problem, we deliver a solution that gets what they want. But I'll say it's kind of a little bit like a carnival, maybe, in that we want to make them look better in our mirror. And so that means bringing better ideas, better practices, better standards. And so, you know, our contribution is to try to, you know, is to advocate for modular or offsite construction whenever it makes sense. I mean, and to help both to deliver a better product for the client as well as to move the industry forward, if you will, because those things go hand in hand, essentially. And so that, I think that's our biggest opportunity. You know, we can't go to any client and say, this is how you're going to do it, or if you join MGAC, you'll do it this way. But again, we're charged with bringing the best ideas to the project, and where modular or offsite works, that's going to be top of mind for us to recommend to a client.
Mm-hmm. Amma, what are you guys doing?
What we've been doing at Windover is that we've been combining in-house expertise with modular, all great superintendents and project managers who has been building many modular projects combined with technology. One of the main qualities of modular offsite that the factory is remote from the site. So we've been utilizing a lot of laser scanning in the factory and on the site to make sure we have QA/QC. Also, for future facility maintenance, we've been providing our clients with the scans of how these boxes, by name each box, what virtual tours of them. So 10 years from now, after the project is completed, the client or the academic clients could have this documentation of how these boxes were made, what's behind ceiling, what's behind walls. At Windover, we also launched our platform IDEA, which stands for innovations in design and automation. So what we've been doing actually is extending our leading edge technologies such as laser scanning, drone mapping, BIM coordination for modular and for offsite construction, extended to the US, and been working in projects in California and Texas. We're trying to really support the transformation of our industry through mitigating risk. It's all towards certainty of outcome. And our goal is to have no surprises on site when we place those boxes or those prefab elements.
Okay, great. Kyung?
You want me to address?
I think just a question. I think I can almost answer it for you. Is that you're providing the financing that modular projects desperately need in order to move forward? Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just add some of the things, a little more color to what Dale was saying, right? To mitigate risk is having people who have done it before. But I think another way to mitigate risk is since it's so integral to the modular process, is these people have done it before, but have they done it together before? Because I think having these people who are comfortable working with each other and making those hard decisions early on and sticking to it is also important.
Yep, absolutely. And Aundre, I know we're almost on time now, so last one with you to tell us what you're doing to help move this industry forward.
I mean, it's a lot. It's really about being an advocate for modular, right? We need more factories so they can be closer to the locations. Let people know the advantages of modular. It's safer because you're working inside a factory with no weather delays, with no rental equipment for generators and elevator banks and all these such things. There's less theft because it's in a secure factory versus on site. For us personally, we build, we're working on a 110 unit build in Brooklyn, 3 buildings, and it really is just proof is in the pudding, right? Like if we build excellent product on time or even ahead of schedule, that people love, that tenants love, the word will get out. Yep. So just building more successful projects that don't have problems is the way to really push push the industry forward as a whole.
Yeah, great. No, I think thank you everyone. Appreciate everyone's input. So I know Patrika is coming back on here.
Yes, thank you to everyone. This has been an amazing panel, and a special thank you to Darren for moderating. We really enjoyed you sharing these insights with us, and I know our virtual crowd is going wild. All right, for the audience, it's time for you to make your way to your next session. And along the way, make sure you accept your connection request and check out our exhibits. Thanks so much, and we'll see you around.
Thanks, everyone.